Thank you very much. And, let me tell you what an honor it is, not only to represent our great state in the Senate, but to serve with Patrick Leahy and Peter Welch as well. Patrick was modest, not his main characteristic, but he was modest tonight. He missed one important point, which I enjoyed very, very much. Some of you may remember, and I'm not going to name names, it would be impolite to do it, but there is a senator from Connecticut, and his name is not Chris Dodd, and I don't want to mention any names. And after the campaign, when everybody in this room worked so hard to elect Barack Obama president, and as Patrick said, we did extremely well in this state, there was another senator who worked very hard to defeat Barack Obama. And the first guy in the Senate to say that maybe it might not be a great idea to reward that particular senator with the chairmanship of an important committee, Homeland Security. Again, I don't want to name any names here. The first person to say that maybe that doesn't make a whole lot of sense was Patrick Leahy, and I appreciate it. And unfortunately, I think Patrick's instincts were exactly correct, and I appreciate his leadership on that issue. As chairman of the very important Judiciary Committee. You know what the Judiciary Committee is about. Sometimes the issues are not sexy, but they are enormously important. And what they are is preserving the Constitution of the United States of America. And we all know that terrorism is serious business, and we've got to do everything we can to protect this country from another attack. But we also know that we can do that respecting the civil liberties and the constitutional rights of the people of our country, and Patrick Leahy has been a leader on that with the people of Pennsylvania. And thirdly, he's been a good friend of mine and made my life very easy, so I appreciate that as well. Let me just tell you all what you already know. And the first point that I want to make is, you know, sometimes I get around the state a whole lot, and Senator Leahy gets around the state a whole lot, and we see people say, you know, I'm just burned out. I went to a demonstration last week for national health care, and it hasn't happened yet, and I'm tired of it. I'm giving up. That's it. What people in this room know, you know, Martin Luther King made the point that the arc of history is a very, very long arc. Women did not get the rights that they were entitled to after it took decades and decades of struggle. When I was a young man, African Americans in this country were lynched. Forget about a voter's rights, forget about a president of the United States. There was lynching and apartheid going on in parts of America. Children, not so many years ago, were working in factories and fields. And struggle does not happen overnight. It takes a persistence, it takes a determination. And what you are about, being here with other activists all over our state and all over our country, is saying, look, I understand that it's not good enough to be concerned about health care, women's rights, gay rights, education, global warming. You know, I have meetings and people come out, oh, I'm concerned about it. Do you want to get involved in politics? Oh, no, I hate politics. But I'm really concerned about health care. Well, let me break the bad news to you. If you are concerned about the economy and healthcare and education and global warming, you know what? You've got to get your hands dirty. And that's called the political struggle, and that's called democracy. And I appreciate that many people in this room have gotten their hands dirty and have gone to more meetings than they care to remember. And they have struggled day after day after day, fight after fight after fight. I thank you very much for doing that, because what you're doing is maintaining the democratic spirit in this country and fighting for justice, not just for tomorrow, but for our kids and our grandchildren. Thank you very much. Senator Leahy touched on a lot of the issues that are out there. Let me just very briefly touch on them again. All of you know that we are involved in a major and monumental healthcare struggle right now. My own view is that we probably don't need a 1,900-page bill. I think that if we had the courage to stand up to the insurance companies and the drug companies and pass a Medicare for all single-payer bill, we wouldn't be 1,900 pages, but in fact, it would get to the real point, is that we are wasting hundreds of billions of dollars every single year through the profiteering and the administrative costs of private health insurance companies. Now, we're not going to get that. I am going to offer that amendment on the floor of the Senate. We will lose. But we are fighting right now to at least get in the heart of the bill, and that's also going to be a struggle. Language that will allow, to a significant degree, states to have the flexibility to move to at least something very close to a single-payer bill. And at the end of the day, if we're successful, my own belief is we will have a Medicare for all single-payer system in this country, because states, and I would be very, very proud if this state led the effort, but some state is going to go forward. If Vermont leads the effort, the rest of this country will be eternally grateful. So let's do that. Judy mentioned that I am on both the Environmental Committee and the Energy Committee, so we're getting deeply engrossed in the global warming issue. The bill that came out of our committee is a pretty good bill. And what it says is a few basic things. It says, number one, that we, unlike our friend Rush Limbaugh, actually listen to the scientific community. I know it's a hard choice to take Nobel Prize-winning scientists on one hand and Rush on the other hand. Tough. But some of us go with the scientific community. And what institutions like MIT tell us in a recent publication, that the problem with regard to global warming is actually more serious than scientists had believed a few years ago. And that's very, very bad news and serious news. But there is good news. And the good news is that we, in fact, know how to substantially reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And we should all be proud. We should be very proud. You know, all of us, many of us think, and Pat made this point, Patrick made this point, of Vermont being a model, Vermont's values. Well, we are leading this country in terms of energy efficiency. We now consume less electricity than we did a couple of years ago. We are leading America, and we should be very, very proud of that. And, you know, what President Obama understands, what Peter Welch understands, what Patrick Leahy and I understand, is that long-term, what we have got to do is end the absurdity of importing $350 billion every single year of foreign oil. Can you imagine that? $350 billion. Think what you can do to create a new energy system, new transportation systems in America, to use a fraction of that amount of money. And that is what we are about to do. And in the stimulus package that Senator Leahy referred to, strongly supported by Congressman Welch and myself and Senator Leahy, what that stimulus package has done is put more money in that one bill into energy efficiency and sustainable energy than in the history of the United States of America. And what you are going to see, a lot of that money is coming back into the state of Vermont through legislation that I helped write, other pieces of legislation. And what you're going to see in 10, 15 years, you're going to see a state not only leading the country in energy efficiency, but you're going to see a substantial amount of solar. You're going to see wind. You're going to see biomass, where we're already making some progress. We've got 45 schools in the state that are now heated with wood chips. You're going to see geothermal. You're going to see other forms of sustainable technology. Vermont can play an extraordinary role as we lead the country in that direction. And I think Senator Leahy helped organize a meeting last month with Secretary True. Peter Welch and I were there, and I think we made the case, which he understood, that Vermont can be a model, and the result of that is we got $67 million for this smart grid, which per capita, as I understand it, is far more than any other state in the country received. And the reason for that is that we have a track record. And they want Vermont to be a model, and that's our job to be that model.